Hello from the Music Interview Corner. Today with Avatar with Johannes. Hi, Johannes.
Hello.
Thank you so much for taking time for this interview.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So your new album is called Dance Devil Dance, and it will be released on February 17th. How was the recording process?
It was special because it kind of happened as a reaction to what we did with Hunter Gather. Hunter Gather, we went to Los Angeles and went to a very nice and fancy studio there, and surrounded by a lot of qualified people. And it's just a center. Los Angeles is the center of the universe when it comes to the music industry, and we were in the middle of that. And it was a great experience. It was also a day when I took the time to be a bit of a tourist. Oh, there's the observatory, here's Walk of Fame, Scientologists, Rainbow Bar and Grill, cool. But mostly working, of course. But I think the outcome of being such a fancy place, I think we make a couple of fancy choices that boil down all the way down to the mix, how the album ended up sounding. And it has Hunter Gather has a very nice low end and very hi-fi. Sounds a bit luxurious in my mind, and as such maybe lost a bit of grit, a bit of teeth, a bit of filth. So between Hunter Gatherer coming out and now Dance Devil Dance, Cannibal Corpse released an album, for instance, and those guitars were so angry that I felt like I owed someone an apology listening to them. And that and a bunch of other thoughts and feelings kind of accumulated to that we wanted to ensure that we did something now that would be grittier, dirtier, more rock and roll, and let that also influence all the tiny decisions you make along the way up until and including the mix. So it's more mid-rangey, more teethy, more aggressive and stuff. And part of what achieved that was that we went to my family's, what we call it, summer house. We're not just there in the summer, but an old farmhouse in the woods, and cabin. And through the years, we have added some buildings. By us, I mean everyone in the family except for me. One of them is just like 3 bedrooms and a little hall in the building. It's no kitchen, no nothing, just bedrooms. And that building we turned into a studio. We threw out all the beds, and one room was a control room, one the recording room with the drums and chairs to sit on to play with John, and in the middle all the amps and stuff. And that was it. That was the studio, and it's just us and Jay Russin, the producer, out there alone, and having to solve everything by ourselves with whatever we brought with us, cooking for each other, living, wandering the woods, and living like a tiny little cult, basically. And that just made for a great experience. At some point when spring arrived, the allergies really kicked in my case. But until then it was excellent.
It sounds like a very Scandinavian way to record an album.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, and also because just the luck of the draw to be in nature, in the sense that the first couple of days there was some late snow that fell. And by the end, it was late into spring, So it was a nice little transition that would all, with apologies to Los Angeles, but it was just a bit more a magical place, I guess. And also I feel it's not really that we let anyone influence what we do so much anyway, but still in Los Angeles, people can come and knock on the door and hang out for a bit, which is fine, and also a nice part of it is that is also nice. But then when we didn't have it, it's more probably aligned with our mindset, and everything becomes our problem, our responsibility, our questions to answer. No one to really ask for advice. I mean, my brother came up with his kids and baked some pizza and hung out, but he's not really in the music business. It's just, hey bro, what do you think? Oh, I love it. Okay, you love everything, whatever, and other than that, it was just, so I don't know, like it suited us very much.
Yeah, I think it's a great mix. I work in LA a lot, and I love the rainbow. It's my favorite place.
It was close when I walked by, but now at least, well, it's fine. I took a picture of it. Lem isn't there anymore anyway.
Dance Devil Dance contains songs like Valley of Disease and Hazmat Suit. How much was it impacted and influenced by the pandemic and by the current state of the world?
Well, I think Hazmat Suit is probably the song that got to carry most of the angst of that, because through the writing, of course, most of this album came together in the midst of the pandemic, but it was important for me and the kind of journey I tried to make while we were working on this album. Our world became very, very small, and I did a conscious effort to keep the world, my personal inner world, big, and try to somehow feel connected to what was going on outside of our little bubbles of fear and whatever. So yeah, this was a conscious attempt to not let every song be I gotta wash my hands and I hope I don't sneeze kind of over and over again. But of course, a lot of Hazmat Suit is definitely one that deals with that sense of us being incredibly fucked and kind of dropping the ball species wise in how we deal with this once it's in our face, and dropping the ball on learning from this experience, because nothing of relevance is being done differently now. I mean, we still, every pandemic can be one way or another traced down to how we treat animals and consume animals, and we're just waiting for the next even bigger one to happen because we don't change our habits. And then the infighting, the conflict between different stances, the misinformation, the fear mongering, the lies, and the ignorance towards science. And I mean, I'm not the biggest Star Trek dude or anything, but the way the future is described in there, when that whole universe of all the species of the universe look at the human beings as example for how to solve all your problems and then head out in the universe. I kind of want that for us, and I kind of want to believe that that's an option, and you get let down. So those kind of feelings, a lot of that goes into Hazmat Suit. Valley of Disease is more psychological rather than that shines such different kind of light on being unwell. I'd say. Apologies for the dog, Vincent. Hey. But so
your dog just walked in. Do you want to show your dog?
I don't want to show the apartment.
Oh, okay.
If he comes here, he's unmade. We are.
I feel cats and dogs are always a plus for everybody.
Yeah, I'll see if he comes to me, but we momentarily rent a smaller apartment because they're renovating in ours. Vincent, you want to say hello? No, you don't. You want to guard.
No, that's okay. Maybe he's shy, camera shy.
Oh, no, he's not. He just doesn't care. Hey, good.
If I would have some dog treats I could rattle with, maybe he would come.
Yeah. Well, I see if he wants to show up. He was, anyway.
Okay. So the last track on Dance Devil Dance is called Violence No Matter. Oh my God, he's so cute. Vincent is his name?
You. Vincent van Dog.
Vincent van Dog. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So,
hi, Vincent.
violence no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Violence no matter what. It is a duet with Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm. How was it for you to work with her?
Great. I mean, she's one of the greatest voices of our time. I think, I mean, I don't think anyone really underrates her per se, but I don't think people always talk enough about how great she actually is. We toured a bit with Hailstorm. I feel a kinship to that band, even stylistically, we're kind of different from each other. But AVATAR is first and foremost, at first glance, we're a metal band. But there's a lot of rock and roll going on that makes it what it is. And with Hailstorm, people, I think, see this rock band first and foremost. But then when you kind of get into it, especially if you see them live and stuff, they go pretty damn hard, gets pretty darn metal, and especially how Lizzie sings and can sing. And I think this was a nice opportunity to let her go really hard by doing a song of ours. No, but and it started with the writing of the song. It turned into a duet immediately when I started to work on the lyrics and vocals for it. And And first was like, oh, a lot of backup vocals, so Henrik will get busy. And then there was a lot of vocals overall, you know, like two-way thing. And then really start to think, okay, maybe it would be fun to have a guest. Who could it be? Oh, and you know, Avatar is a sausage party, so it get really interesting, the idea of doing of just a woman in general would add something right away, because that's a sound we cannot create. And then you want to think, who's a really great also woman that we have toured with and that would pull this off, and that we could reach out and ask, and blah 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 blah, and you know, it all landed on Lizzie. And no, and it was great. Then the work itself was, you know, she did what we did is that I recorded all vocals, so there were guiding tracks and a general idea. You will probably sing this part, but you can switch out any of my parts to your voice, and you kind of get to choose freely and how you want to treat it. And she did pretty much what we had intended for her to do. Like, she came to the same conclusions as we did, added some flair, some flavor of her own, of course, and yeah, no, and that whole part was really easy. And you know, she did it in the US at home, or whatever studio she used that on, I don't remember, but and we did it on our end, and we didn't really need to feed back in any way. We just she just nailed it. That's what she does.
Yeah, I think it's a great track. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I also noticed that Dance Devil Dance has a very broad range of songs. Gotta Wanna Riot has those almost 60s sounding vocal parts, and the intro of Train is pretty jazzy. How did you come up with the idea to combine all those different music styles?
Well, we've been like that always, I think. And it's even a challenge to, I mean, I guess you have the mantra we keep repeating is never write the same song twice, and wanting to feel like a beginner in what we do. There are all these things going on that kind of pieces it together. Then this time, it was still okay to let every song be very different, and especially standard, like Train, that is that calm break in a mostly calm break in a mostly aggressive metal and rock and roll album. But it was important this time that the songs themselves felt more focused than before. That inside each song, you know, like if you look at just a prior album, I think that was a bit trippier, with Child being this emotional roller coaster of the playfulness, the ultra aggression and anger, leading into the playfulness, leading into the sadness, leading into the weirdness. And also Wormhole starting being very aggressive, psychedelic, into the Bottom of Despair to almost romantic sounding. And then, you know, so you have these roller coasters. And this time the roller coaster was, you separated song by song. So instead of having a song that goes from anger to sadness to mystique, you rather do one angry song, one sad song, one mysterious song, or whatever, and focus the pieces like that more.
So since this is our first interview, I would also like to talk about some like older topics from the past.
Sure.
Cool. So Avatar is also very popular in the US rock charts and on US rock radio. In May 2017, your song New Land peaked at the mainstream Billboard rock charts at position 20. How did that feel?
Didn't feel much. Sometimes songs it's playing a lot on radio, sometimes it isn't. The thing is, those kind of milestones you feel them more the first time around. And actually now, if I jump back to what's going on now, like you said, US radio has been, for whatever reason, kind of open to what we're doing. And I think it's good for radio listeners over there. And of course, good for us. Now with Dance Devil Dance, The Dirt I'm Buried In is the first song of ours to really take it off on European radio in general, where we get reports back from Germany and Italy and whatnot, where it's kind of, oh, you heard it, cousin. That's cool. So that's something new now that excites me. By the time we released New Land, it had already happened that, you know, that we travel around the radio stations and say hi, and they played us. And was kind, I think Smells Like a Freak Show was a relatively early success like that. And maybe then Newland was bigger, but I don't even remember that, but you don't really notice that on the tour bus or in your own little bubble. So then if you go back to the Black Waltz, the album, the song Let It Burn was the first time we were on high rotation at home in Sweden. So that was a first for that. And then that felt more like something. Remember going to car with some friends or colleagues or whatever it was, and like, hey, turn on the radio. I want to hear myself sing, and turn on radio, and our Let It Burn was playing. Like timed it perfectly. So once by the time Newland, of course, that was probably some good news that pleased us at the time, but it's not so much a lasting thing. I think if we would truly become a number one in a way that a metal band doesn't become, we can become number one depending on how you count and in your own little subfield. But if you will get a Macarena level hit, sure, then I guess you notice it more.
I would like to experience that a metal band, like especially from Scandinavia. Let's see. Might be that someone will accomplish it, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see.
And when Black Waltz came out around 2014, it was the same time when you started wearing the special face paint, right? How did you come up with that?
Well, that was to solve a problem. We did the music video for Black Waltz because we met Bryce Graves and Helsa Poppin, and he was teaching our stylist at the time to do these crazy things. And that kind of just led to, wouldn't this be cool to do to the song Black Waltz? And yes, it would. Okay, let's do this quickly before he leaves Sweden.
He doesn't like the video or the question? No,
he's guarding. He's not used to these particular neighbor smells and sounds. Yes. Okay. And chihuahuas are 1,000-year-old villa alarms, aren't you? So what was I?
Oh, you were sorry. It was for the music video. You put on the Facebook for the music
exactly.
Video.
Yeah, so it was simply to fit in that circus setting and stuff. Then what happened is, of course, we felt, oh, this clicks. This is something. This answers a question we've been trying to find the answer to for the longest time before. Like, what does our music look like? Which is a weird, abstract question to ask yourself. Like here, now we found the answer, we felt.
And I would have also another question about the past. In 2018, your album Avatar Country came out. And then there was also the film featurette called Legend of Avatar Country, a Metal Odessey. And it was comedy. Who had the idea for that?
Well, it starts with the whole thing of Jonas being a king. Was an inside joke that was growing and growing in that period. Avatar Country as a term is something that I just coined on stage, like, oh, you're not in London anymore, baby. This is Avatar Country, and then Avatar Country, that rolls off the tongue just right. Can we do something with that? And then Jonas would be the king, haha, because that inside joke fed into it. That happened in a period where we were listening before all the shows, listening to like Hail and Kill by Manowar, because no one had bothered learning the second verse to see how bad it got later. And we were very much in this tribute to the dragon slaying side of metal in that period. And all these things came together that suddenly, okay, let's, on a sincere level, do this love letter to European power metal and that side of things. Those kind of lyrics that I can, since I moved to Finland from Sweden, I'm kind of happy at the end of the day that this is a republic. It feels more reasonable than a kingdom. But I kind of love singing about kings in metal songs. But how would we do it? Yeah, but if Jonas is the king, then it's funny. So it gave an opportunity to write in a certain way and have fun with it, not to make fun of it, but have fun with it and do something. And also to try, we always have fun, but we start to do kind of funny things to mess with people's expectations anyway while we were touring for Feathers and Flesh. So then came this idea of like, okay, but can we do something that feel funny on an entire album? And I mean, there are funnier people than us out there in terms of just comedians and whatnot that work with it. But we made each other laugh a lot. And then it grew into this, what do you call it, almost augmented reality game of Avatar Country with the fans who would dress up, who would contribute with fan art, who would commit to the whole thing together with us. And that is what really made it special, was that shared creativity between us and our audience. That is why, you know, it made sense at that time to make the live album for King Live in Paris, and the film, of course, being a culmination of that. I mean, we're obviously better if you're a stage performer. You're not so much an actor as you are a reactor, and acting is challenging. I think everyone else did a better job than I did, which feels good, actually. You know, it was a fun, crazy thing to do and to share with people who shared it with us.
Yeah, and you mentioned the importance of the fans. This whole film was financed via Kickstarter by your fans. How did it feel when it came out in March 2020?
Well, when it came out, it was like, oh, good, I can sleep again, because it was intense work for everyone. But once when the financing went through, that we would be able to shoot it, that was the big moment. Like, because we launched the campaign, went on stage, came off stage. Okay, it's financed. It took a couple of hours. Then it kept going for a while, and we got 3 times what we asked for. So we really were able to. I mean, it's still not a lot of money to make a film with, and it's still very much a self-made project that was really a huge strain, especially on John and Johan, the director. But it was still enough so that crazy people like us could do something with it. Still, by any definition of filming anything, still a low-budget project, but you know, made with a lot of love, and made for it was really made for us and the people who backed it, who are so into what we were doing and getting it, and, you know, forgiving, I guess, with our abilities, and just, you know, so that made it special. But it was a bit of a shock first when, oh, they're giving us so much money for something we haven't released yet. You know, like,
oh yeah,
the pressure. And then learning to respect that, because the business side of what we do is usually pretty straightforward. Oh, we do something we love, then we throw it out in the world, and if you like it, you will buy a t-shirt, and everybody goes home happy. You can buy a ticket to the show. It's not so complicated, the business relationship you have with fans, with your audience. But with a Kickstarter, it was another feeling, and it was kind of people not, of course, showing support, but they showed trust and love through a money thing. And that was like crossed the wires in the brain quite a bit initially. And then we kind of just learned to respect that for what it was, and embrace it, and do the thing. And that was great.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I love the comedy, and I love the look of the movie. I think the movie has a really like this fantastic surreal look. I really like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for the audience, of course, we're going to put the link to the movie here in the video description. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say to your fans?
No, just now I really look forward for the album to come out, Dance Devil Dance, out February 17th. And it's of course self-delusional, bordering on a lie, when an artist says this is the best album we have ever done. This is the best album we have ever done, though. And
of course,
that is how it feels. It's how I feel about it here and now. And we will make you see the devil, and we will make you dance. And you can thank us later.
Cool. Yeah. So, guys, the album will be out, Dance Devil Dance, on February 17th. And we're going to put also the pre-order link and all the links here in the description for you. Yes. Johannes, thank you so much for the interview.
Well, thank you for your time.
And goodbye from the Music Interview Corner.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Johannes. Bye. Bye.